Yeah.
What do you expect to hear from Mr. Kubish?
Well, let's see what he says, but I think he will say that that the elections is a great step forward, but there are some complaints registered, etc., and that they need to be investigated, and that the government, once it's formed, has a huge agenda ahead of it in terms of reforms and reconciliation and the creation of an inclusive government.
And in terms of the inclusiveness of the government, about Baghdad and a real relationship, do you think the UNAMI can have?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's part of what Mr. Kubish is doing. We'll hear what he has to say today, but we will certainly encourage that he assists in that conciliatory process.
Ambassador, is he prepared to support the Kuwait draft on protecting Palestinians?
We're working. I'm not sure we've seen the last version, but we do think it's important that the Council expresses itself on what has been a terrible situation in Gaza. There are some ideas in there, including on a international presence, etc., which I think the details needs to be worked out. But in principle, we are supportive of the Kuwaiti effort.
And what about the U.S. draft statement on Gaza?
Yeah, well, we have to deplore violence. There's been a lot of it in and around Gaza the last month or so. So, I think it's we would have supported the Council expressing itself during the last couple of weeks with almost 120 Palestinians killed. But of course, the attacks against Israel are also unacceptable. The main thing here, I think, is really to de-escalate and to come back to what we heard last week: credible proposals and trying to find relief to the humanitarian disaster that is going on in Gaza. So that'll be our message today: to de-escalate and to renew those kind of efforts. I'm sorry, you had a question. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you on Gaza. At today's meeting that the United States has called, how do you see this going in competition with the Kuwait draft resolution?
No, Council has to be able to keep two thoughts at the same time in our mind. We keep many more issues, juggling. So there's no contradiction. I think we could, express ourselves on both issues. There's no contradiction. Again, what the Kuwaitis are trying to do, backed up by the Palestinians, is to find a way forward in terms of creating de-escalation in and around Gaza, and I think that's a worthwhile exercise.
On Libya, what was Sweden's understanding of Qasem Soleiman's role in the meeting in France with General Haftar?
Right. No, I'll have to. Sweden was there. We were represented. We were invited to the meeting. I just don't have the full readout of that, so I don't know the details of that. But it'll be on an AOB today, so we'll discuss it with France. Their reading of all this.
Any thoughts
Thanks.
on the North
A lot.
meeting?
Yeah, a lot.
On the meeting between Secretary of State Pompeo and Kim Jong-un, senior official.
Look, I think everything that goes to planning that summit is good. It needs to be well prepared. So this is an historic meeting. We hope it takes place, and planning for it needs to be rigorous. So that's all good. All right. Thanks a lot.
Does Sweden have any role in the coming 2 days? I know you have a unique position
On
with
the
the
DPRK?
Yeah,
It's not something I could comment on now. No. All right.